welcome back to another Persona 5 The Phantom X video and guide. And in today's guide, I'll be going through, did you select the wrong character from every single selector in this game? Well, long story short, you probably didn't, and you're probably okay, and you probably actually got dupes of some of them. So today I'm just going to go quickly over each character's strengths, weaknesses, who I think you should pick if you actually haven't gotten super unlucky and gotten someone like Riddle, for example. And if you do have multiple, which characters or units that you should get dupes for. So before this video begins, definitely don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. It definitely helps out the channel a bunch. And don't forget to join our community Discord as well at the Gacha Rebels. Link in the description. I'll probably have it in the pinned comment as well. Thank you so much for 9,000 subscribers. It's been absolutely a blast to make videos for everyone, commenting, watching the live streams, chatting in the Discord. It's been absolutely amazing and I really appreciate every one of you. So I'm just going to go over quickly the three selectors in this game. So the first one you're going to get is through the contracts, which is through the gacha pooling system in this game. There will be a beginner banner here at a discounted rate of 8 standard tickets. And then once you pull for 50, which is the equivalent of 10, so you only have to pull, 5 times on the banner, you get a choice between Ann, Morgana, and Ryuji. And then the next selector that you get is through the Lufel's business plans. And I already made a video about this. Just going over that you should do these because you do get selectors and you get pretty good rewards. So every step you complete, you actually do get a reward as well. And these are fairly easy to complete. Some of them might require a little bit more grinding just because of, clearing Velvet Room trials. Like you have to clear like Technician 8 and stuff like that, all the way up to 7 as well. Once you complete this, you do get a selector again out of Ann, Ryuji, and or Morgana. And then once you complete Business Plan 2, you can actually select one of their 5-star weapons. So that's always pretty nice here. And that's basically all the selectors that you can get in the game. So you can pretty much get 2 of the 3, original Phantom Thieves in the standard sort of banners that come with them. And you can also get one of their weapons, which is also very nice. Now, all 3 of these characters have their own merits, but in my opinion, there are 2 definite standouts. And that is what I'm going to be going through right now. And one of them is, of course, Ann. Now, I highly recommend that everyone sort of gets Ann, especially if you're not going to be pulling for Joker, because Ann is a great AoE DPS unit. So she does fire, so she works very well with a lot of the free-to-play units in this game, including Key, which you can get just a 4-star, which is, you can get pulling on the standard banner. Works very well with Lufel as well, which is a free character that you get right at the beginning of the game. And it works pretty much with every single support. It can work with Leo, can work with Soy as a tank taunt unit. You can work with another sustain if you want to be a bit more comfy. Can work with just a bunch of different characters, and it's very flexible overall in terms of just overall damage and just overall team building. So the other reason why I recommend Ann is because if you go to the Velvet Trials, and once you clear Technician 5 or 6, I think it is, you actually get access to all these other on-element Velvet Trials. And one of them is Lair of the Arcane Flame. So basically here you can see once you do this, all the enemies are weak to fire. So every single one in this game mode are weak to fire. So, and the reason why you want to do this and the reason why you want to go through these Velvet Room trials is because these are weak to fire, you can easily sort of clear them. Well, not easily, but you can clear them eventually with a fire AoE DPS sort of team with Ann. And you can get all these premium currencies, these premium EXP materials. And basically you can just get all these rewards, 50, 100, and eventually 150 currency. So you can get up to 1500 metajoules, which is very solid, especially if you are a free-to-play player. And some of these can get quite challenging. So having a team early on in the game and then eventually building that team, especially that team being free-to-play with Ann, for example, then it's definitely a solid investment to make, which is why I think people should just go for it first. Now, the next unit that I think everyone should be grabbing is Chaboy Morgana. And the reason why Morgana is so good is just basically because Morgana is a sustain unit, one of the only 2 sustain units apart from Lufel being the other one, and can just do a lot of healing output. So Skill 2 on Morgana is basically just an AoE heal, and you can actually heal 1 elemental ailment as well, which is really nice. And you also gain these stacks of Chivalry, which spend stacks to heal the entire party's HP, which is basically a mechanic that you can do, which is Morgana's favor. So you can see here, when using a different skill than the previous skill, gain 1 Chivalry stack, stacks up to 3 times. When an ally is less than 70% HP, you can trigger with a skill highlight, activate Resonance, which is basically spending the Chivalry stacks to then additionally heal. So Morgana can just do a lot of additional heals, and basically any person, once you have Chivalry stacks up, who drops below 70% HP, he'll do additional heal, and that heal can actually crit, which basically means that that heal can do additional healing. And everything, obviously, with the healing and everything like that, scales off of Morgana's attack. So just make sure, you know, you're scaling off the attack. But basically, Morgana just does a lot of healing output, more healing output than Lufel, more healing output than any of Wonder's like early game personas, for example. And will keep you alive a lot. Has definitely kept me alive a lot. So I think is a very good unit, especially if you want to, you know, sort of get into the second palace, which can be quite difficult. Morgana will definitely keep you alive. And then the third unit that I'll be talking about, which I don't have yet, and I'm planning to actually get on the selector because I have the other two, is actually Ryuji. Now, Ryuji, in my opinion, is actually pretty good single target DPS, and it's actually a single target physical DPS. Now, he's actually very, very strong. So skill 3, for example, God Hand Burst, is actually just a crap ton of damage, 224% of Ryuji's base attack. And then you can also do like Rebound, which is next skill used deals increased damage. So you can think that instantly here, because this is a charging skill, so you basically charge for 1 turn and then use the attack the second turn. Rebellious Spirit will always basically proc, and essentially you're just doing a lot of damage, and then you're doing a shit ton of damage. Like, look at this multiplier, 265% attack for physical damage on one foe is absolutely insane. But the reason why I don't highly recommend him is because Ryuji actually, because, you know, basically is a single target DPS and actually scales with physical, you basically want to build crit rate and crit damage on Ryuji, which could be quite difficult substats to get when you do eventually unlock the artifact system. But at the same time, because you want to buff all those items up, you can see here as well, sort of the stats here. So you know, to be very effective as a single target, you just kind of need all of these crit rate and crit damage sort of multipliers. So basically, you really do need to build specific teams for Ryuji. And it's a little bit less friendly because you kind of just need Leo for sure. Like, Leo is 100% needed for Ryuji. Otherwise, I don't think Ryuji... I mean, Ryuji can work, don't get me wrong, in his own right. But having Leon, especially with Ryuji, is definitely a plus. And then later down the track, when you get, you know, more units released and stuff, and other crit-based units like 5-star Wind and all that sort of stuff as well. But basically, all I'm trying to say is there's a little bit of investment in Ryuji. Now we can talk about dupes very quickly. So what if you got all these characters already, and then you have a selector? Which dupes should you get? Well, actually, funnily enough, now I wanted to eat my words basically, but I always thought that the dupes for any of them would be pretty not very good. But basically, they actually got changed a little bit in global in terms of dupes. So for example, Ann's dupe actually is pretty good now. So if I just go to Ann's awarenesses, Ann's A1 is actually really good now. So when she is in her Levian Rose state, increases the party's attack by 25% for 1 turn. And basically, you can pretty much proc and go into Levian Rose after 1 skill, essentially after getting 4 passion stacks. And basically with her, you can gain up to 4 stacks of passion with just 1 skill. And basically you just go into Levian Rose, and that's instantly a 25% damage increase for party wide essentially. So that's actually really good. Now Morgana's dupes I wouldn't recommend at all. Just because, again, standard character, but if you're going to be selecting, I wouldn't recommend many of the dupes. You can sort of upgrade when the Chivalry will proc, so it restores HP of allies with less than 50% HP remaining by 30% of Morgana's attack, which is an additional effect to the Resonance proc as well. So you do additional healing, but at this stage of the game, the additional healing that Morgana base does is already really good, so you don't really need the dupe. And then Ryuji's A1 is actually pretty decent as well. You can see on the screen now that Ryuji's A1 Under the Skull and Bones increases damage of God Hand Burst, which is basically skill 3 that I was talking about. And when in the Changing Gear state, which is essentially the pre-wind up for God Hand Burst, you actually get a decreased damage by 20%. So on the A1, you actually do more damage and you actually take less damage, meaning that skill 3 is actually more viable and more useful because skill 3 costs a lot of HP to use. So overall, you can also pick up a Ryuji dupe because I don't think that's actually that bad at all. But overall, what are my picks? What are the summaries? Well, basically the TLDR is definitely pick Ann and Morgana, and you'll be able to get both of them from 2 selectors essentially. And then Ryuji, if you really like Ryuji, obviously get Ryuji. In my opinion, it's always good to try and get all the characters on the roster because you don't have to necessarily build the character, you can always have it on the roster in case you do need to build the character, and then it's just there for you to build rather than not having the character, especially when you get a lot of free selectors. It's always good to just get the units. But if you are wondering about dupes, if you don't like Ryuji at all, for example, don't like Ann at all, then Ann A1 is definitely good for a dupe. none of Morgana's dupes are that needed in my opinion, and probably not really worth at this stage. And then also get a dupe for Ryuji if you really like Ryuji, because A1 just does a lot of, makes Ryuji more survivable and actually deal more damage, which is definitely what you want in a physical DPS carry. So that's pretty much it for the video. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed, as well as found the information helpful. If you did, definitely don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a bunch, as I said before. Again, appreciative, and thank you so much for 9,000 subscribers. Let's make it to 10,000 by the end of this week. Possibly, I don't know, we'll see. But thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.